Okay, ladies and gentlemen, on the Kara Walker Cutouts, here's a couple of examples of that first step warm-up, which it'll get you ready to get going. And usually we do this in class where we'll do text, representation, abstraction, and then non-objective or non-representation, because those are the basic four areas of shape, but they're all open to degrees of definition. Here's a couple other examples from class. Obviously text, obviously a face, obviously wings. So both of these are fairly representational, and you'd have to decide, is that clearer to wings than that is to a face, or did we have two representational items? And then if we zoom in, I mean, these could be feathers or leaves, or they could be just invented shapes. If they're purely invented shapes, you may want to look this up. I mean, what is representational art? What is abstract art? What is non-objective art? And these are some of the definitions that kind of go with the territory in art that I present all over and over in art appreciation. Maybe not so much, well, it depends on the format in design. Okay, this one's not reading that well because we tried to emphasize complementary colors last semester. So obviously this is the letters, text. And well, do ghosts really exist in our world? But this is a ghost, so that would have to be representational, or maybe a kid dressed as a ghost. And this one, I mean, the way he described it, he said this was an abstracted cloud, and this was non-objective, even though it was a totemic face. So an abstracted face with the nose and a mouth from the side, maybe very much like a Gary Panter caveman Jim. And this could be a car. I mean, but generally non-representational is going to be a pure form, just a shape that doesn't portray anything in our world. So that's where you start. And I was going to run up to school and get some other examples. They are in the PowerPoints, you know, so you have to go through the material maybe more than once and filter and get started. And it's, you know, design and art is not always linear. You don't always do step 1, 2, 3, 4. But this is a 4-step to showing time and motion. I'm capturing it vertically on my phone when the orientation is horizontal, but I think you can get the picture. And our student here, Jerison Moore, who I used to grade him by sketchbooks, and people would have to pick up their sketchbook. The problem is if you didn't pick up your sketchbook on time, Mr. Leonard still has your sketchbook. So Jerison Moore wants his sketchbook back. I still have it. Anyhow, he was going with the city idea, like that's a city. And it's abstract, but watch what he does with it. He planned this. He kind of drew it out, and then he kind of drew where he wanted to go as his end result. And the cool thing is, it's going to grow from one start, like Sim City, to the end, and it's really going to blast away at the black rectangle. So you want to have that black rectangle kind of eaten up so it doesn't read as a rectangle. So let's go to his steps. Step 1, you can't even tell it's a city. You know, it looks almost like an upside down figure with a tail and legs and maybe a dog with a triangular hat. But it flips and you have symmetrical balance. And it really is interesting because the rectangle reads as the rectangle, but you have this shape that draws your interest, yes, with high contrast and symmetry. So it could be one thing reflected, like the city and the shadow on the water, a lake, or it could be a whole, we try to, is that a figure? Is that a dog? Well, let's see what happens. And he started cutting out like the moon with an X-Acto knife, a sharp X-Acto knife. But you could use scissors. You could plan it, or you could just go. But if you're using a quarter sheet of construction paper, which is 4.5 by 6, off of the 9 by 12, you may mess up on one, which means you may have to do it over to make it better. It's not like going up to bat where 3 strikes and you're out. You can go as many times as it takes. This one is about as ideal as I've ever seen. The ones that are on the PowerPoints are very good, and let's see what you guys can do. So he keeps getting more detail in his first area of development. Well, another area of development, so we've gone from 1 to 2 to 3 sides, and he wraps it all up right there, even with, this is closer to the left, so the sun flips out, and that is just magical, is it not? Where did we start? With the rectangular sheet of black paper. Where did we end up? Looks like Chicago or New York. Is that McAllen? So that's pretty good. 5 minutes and 30 seconds. That's probably 30 seconds too long, but let's see what you can do in the time that we have. Full credit through Sunday, 80% next week. It's fun. You really should watch the Kara Walker video first if you haven't, and it connects.